Okay, it's officially 9 o'clock here on Saturday, January 7th, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do have a mic. Oh, we have one participant here. Good. Hello. Thank you for joining in for us. I was wondering if I was having anybody. So this is good. I think consistency is good. I think that's people like something that they know about ahead of time. I did give last second notice, so that's okay. For this time around. This is my very first live stream ever for anything. I've done a lot of recordings before, but this is the first time I've done that. If you're joining us here, you see that on the right side, there is a poll and there is an introduce yourself. So it says, let's see if I can see participants at all. So there's one. I don't know if that's just myself. I think that's somebody else on there because it showed 0 before when I was on. But please say hello. I'm going to plug in my mic. Hopefully this will work. I'm not sure it'll be better than my audio. I was testing my audio yesterday with a live stream. Oh, well, let's lost that person. Okay, so definitely as somebody came on. So I will start in about a few minutes, no matter what. If it's just myself, I'll probably do a separate video to talk about the live stream. So we'll see how it works out. Let's see here. I think what I'll do, if it's just myself on this, I'll end this video here and then start up a different video and just do a recording. But I'll still be a live stream. Hello, somebody that joined us here today is one. Welcome to the live stream here. We're going to be talking about author marketing. So, too many people that pop on and off. Okay. If you are an author, please leave a comment so I know. This is a live stream here. So author marketing, we'll be talking about author marketing somewhat. So I'm not beginning just yet. I'm trying to give it time to see how it's going to be. This is my very first live stream ever. Not just for authors. Oh, I got 2 here. Great. Some authors joining in. Welcome. I'm Vince. I'm the host here. Hopefully you guys will stay with us here. I got a poll on here in an introduce yourself section. So please introduce yourself. So I'm going to do a live stream here. It won't be too terribly long today. So like 20 minutes. I know it's a weekend and people like to do other things. That's fine. But I wanted to talk about author marketing and also want to have a consistent live stream, probably once a week for authors and also for my group. I don't really do videos that are live videos for my group. So I think that having something consistent might be useful. Can you guys hear me okay? Let's see if I can I'm trying to see if I can see like a chat, right? I had a chat. Okay, here we go. I'm going to say hello here. And we'll start a chat. Hey, there we go. I'm back. Had to log in. So SR Watkins. Welcome, SR Watkins. It's great to have you here. And it also looks like somebody else. I think that was you, Watkins. Good to see you. Said you had to log in. Yes, I had to log in too. I actually this is new for me. This is my very first live stream. So I might just have, what's funny about the numbers on my group. Oh, great. Good to see you. It's funny about the numbers on my group. My Goodreads group has 50,000 people. And then I have a Facebook group that has 15,000 people. So it's funny when doing these live streams when I see the numbers, like just a couple people on there. Somebody else that's on here too. If somebody could say hello so I know who that is. But it's funny when I first do these new strategies, it's like you see just a couple people. I'm like, well, it's just a matter of getting it right and being consistent about it. So thank you for joining on. I know it was like a last second notification that I gave for this. I sent this off yesterday. I've been thinking about it for a little bit because YouTube has this feature as LiveTube, and I think it's very effective for connecting. Um, and so I just need to, basically be a little more consistent, tell authors and tell readers too that maybe every Saturday at 9 a.m. or around that time that, hey, I'll do a live stream so they can get in on this. I see you're saying here, Watkins, that you know nothing about Goodreads. Anything you say is news to me. Well, good. This is what that's about. So Watkins, give me a couple minutes. I'll begin it in just a second. Trying to give it's about 9:05. Trying to give some other people a chance to sign on before I start talking about Goodreads. If you could, Watkins, tell me a little bit about your book. Is it your first book? Is it several books? I'd like to know. There's somebody else that's on here too. If you could say hello too. I don't know who that other person is. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is. Oh, you're Vince. There's two Vinces on here. I'm sorry. I was confused. Welcome, Vince. I was seeing Vincent. I was thinking of my own name. Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Watkins. Apologies. Yeah, I can see you in chat, Vincent. Thank you. Thank you for chatting. Fun connecting. Once again, guys, I'll start. I'm going to give it like 4 more minutes. I'm going to give it to like 9:10, and then I'll start talking about Goodreads, so you guys can be aware of it, be aware what's helpful. Talk a little bit about Facebook. I have a poll. Can you guys see the poll? For some reason, let's see if I scroll up. I can't see the whole poll. Okay, so 100% said Facebook. So I don't know if both have answered Facebook. So Dr. Watkins, if you could also, I don't know, maybe Vincent, I'm not sure who has seen the poll. If you could just answer that poll over there where you've sold books. Not selling because I have no marketing. So Dr. Watkins said, just published book 3. Good. Congratulations on your book 3, Dr. Watkins. Not selling because I have no marketing because I have no idea how to. That's why I'm here. Would be happy to be here every Saturday morning. Okay, great. I was saying, Vincent, I don't know if you caught that, but I was saying that I'd like to try to be more consistent about used live streams. I have a lot of members, and so I just know it's a matter of people being aware of it versus not having anybody to connect with. And maybe in time I'll connect with people on YouTube organically, but right now it's going to be coming primarily from my Goodreads group and my Facebook group. Great. There we go. 50% Amazon for the poll, 50% Facebook for where books are sold. So it'd be helpful since it's just a couple of us. Dr. Watkins, if you wouldn't mind, putting where you've sold your books, so I know who's who, and Vincent, if you could put where you've sold your books, so I know. I'll give you a little bit about where I've sold too. And a couple more minutes, 2 more minutes, then I'll kind of start it up. Just the things I'd like to discuss today. So it's 9:09, 9:08 here. So a few more minutes. Okay, Dr. Watkins, you said Amazon. I do know how to market on Facebook. Great. We'll talk about Facebook. It's all about kind of where you haven't done it. So that's going to be helpful for you. And Vince, I guess you must be the Amazon one. So that's obviously by process selection. So Vincent, you said Amazon, Bookshop, basically everywhere. Great. You've had success. And one of the things about doing these live streams too is that it's also going to be, Dr. Watkins, you also said a few on Instagram, right? Or Ingram Sparks. Okay. I'm sorry, I was thinking Instagram. I saw the in right there. So yeah, one of the things that's great about the live stream, especially as we get more members on, people will be able to offer their own chats about where they've had success. It's about authors helping authors. And so I will tell you guys about that here, and I'll start it up. Give it one more minute and I'll start here, guys. So that's one of the things that's great as more people get on. Hopefully, I left a posting on my Facebook group about this, so hopefully people get that. And as authors know authors too, and so as you guys, if we be consistent about this, and I have this every Saturday, you guys can even invite a couple members yourself, so that way we can kind of get more people signed on and talking about how they've had success. By the way, oh, so where am I? So, well, I'm in California, and you might look around inside where I'm at. I'm actually in a boat. I live part-time in a boat. Dr. Watkins asked that question there. But I think maybe it's more about where, in terms of California, Marina del Rey is my area where I live. Well, I live in Torrance, and it's part-time on a boat over here. So Torrance is where my house is at, down over there. So. Oh, great, Vincent. You're also in California. Dr. Watkins, where are you at? And Vincent, great in California. I don't know if it's Southern California, but it's okay. We don't have to give our address. Sometimes it's privacy reasons. Okay, Calgary. Great. Dr. Watkins said there. That's great. I've never been there. I know it's a beautiful place. I'd like to go visit sometime. Excellent. I'll continue to read the chats over there, and hopefully more people sign up. So let's talk about Goodreads. Let's kind of start it up here for us. And Vincent said, they're near the Bay Area. Okay, great. I've never been up in that area. I think it's near San Francisco, right? If I'm correct about that? I believe that's San Francisco area, or close to that area. Anyway, okay, great. I want to make sure on that. So let's talk about Goodreads for a second, so we can start it up over here. If people sign on, we'll say hello to them too as well. So on Goodreads, there's a couple things that you need to do, and in future videos, I'll try to have screen shares. This one, I'm not going to be able to do that. I need to get the software. If you guys know of a software you do screen shares, would be helpful. This is my first live stream. But on Goodreads, you need to first make sure that you have your author profile set up and that it's public. A lot of authors that I've seen on there, and Goodreads has different settings, that you want to make it as easy as possible to connect with you, like sending messages to you, so that way they can learn more about your books and see them. Obviously, if you have an author profile on Goodreads, they'll see your books listed on there. I'm an author myself. I have 7 books out there. So I make sure that I not only have the books listed, of course, on there, so make sure they're uploaded on the site, but also make sure your author profile is set up out there, has a good description on there. If you have an author website, list that on there, because that's going to be helpful so authors can see, okay, hey, this is where they can see your website, where they can be able to click on it, be able to see your books on there too, if they want to buy on your website. But definitely on Goodreads, make sure that you get the author profile set up. Now, it's a little, these videos have to be kind of a top level. So if you're like, well, how do I set that up? You have to look on there. If you already have your author profile set up on there, that's a great start, because that's where it begins. Is people are going to check in your author profile, like, who is this person? What has this author written? Another way, and I learned this a couple of years ago, of connecting, and this is both for Goodreads and Facebook, is that you have to have normal conversations at first that just kind of spark an interest on social media, like talking with people and connecting with them. A lot of times what I see from authors, and I see it again and again on my Goodreads group, and I see it again and again on my Facebook group. And by the way, I've had these groups for a long time. I've been a moderator of many thousands of people, of thousands of authors. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see is authors immediately just go there and they post about their book. They post about, hey, come buy my book over here. And they either get like a picture of it or a blurb of it. And just like when I'm seeing this, and when readers are seeing this, the first thing that they think about is like, well, who is this person? Like, I'm just seeing the next advertisement. And the biggest advice that I can give you guys, Vincent and Dr. Watkins, who are on this live stream, and anybody else who signs on here, is that you have to make a connection with a person first in order for them to kind of feel comfortable to know you. And the best way to do that is actually just to strike up a conversation, a normal conversation on Goodreads. Like, look, you see the many people who are posting comments on Goodreads. And it could be true with Facebook too, right? If you're in a group or you're on a page, or just maybe it's just instant messaging on Facebook, you just have to have a conversation that, like, first of all, seeing what they're interested in. Like, they might be posting about a book that they've read. Say they read this latest mystery. Well, just strike up a conversation with them and ask them about their mystery, saying, "Hey, that's a pretty cool book. I've heard about that. I'd like to read that too." So they get to know you a little bit, and then organically, kind of like these conversations here that we've done in this chat, then you can drop a line about your book and say, by the way, I'm an author, and this is something I have out there. I know that you like reading mysteries. If you write mysteries, or if you write science fiction, then you can actually kind of get into your book rather than just the spammy approach of saying, here's my book, here's the genre, here's what it's about, go buy it. Because so many authors that do that again and again, and there's no organic conversation. It's just they just jump into the sales right away. And so many readers will see that, and they'll think that, well, like, again, who is this person? And again, it comes off as kind of spammy. And so what they're going to do is just kind of ignore it, or go to the next thing, or go to the post where they talked about, and see who's commented on them, and or help them out. So one of the things to keep in mind on social media is people, right or wrong, people care about their own situations, their own questions, their own conversations. And so when somebody jumps away from that and says, well, here's my stuff, they're not going to really have a strong connection. But they will have a very, very strong reaction to somebody that comments on them and says hello to them, and is kind to them, is following what they're saying. And then later on in the conversation, saying, oh, by the way, you love to read. Maybe you'd like to read this sometime, and let them know about that. I'm telling you, if you do it that approach, it's going to be a 10 times more likelihood of them purchasing the book or being interested in that, versus just the spammy approach in doing that. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And I'll mention this in future videos. And I've mentioned this, and actually I've had other videos that I've posted that are tutorial videos that I've tried to help authors out in that way. But I can't say that enough, because I see, as a founder of the group, I see that so many times with people just jumping in and doing that. So anyway, so that's all social media, by the way. I talked about Facebook, I talked about Goodreads, but that's true of Instagram. That's true of TikTok, other areas too, what you might be on. I'm not on TikTok myself, but I know that you can have conversations, or at least, comment and things like that. So it's true of these other areas too. And YouTube as well, right? I mean, YouTube, you can have, like we're doing right now, you can have comments on there. So just try to go about having that natural conversation. Now let's jump into specifically like where you can go, right? If you write science fiction, throwing it out there hypothetically, if you write science fiction, join science fiction groups, or join on Facebook and on Goodreads, and see what they're saying, and then jump in those conversations, talking about what they're talking about again. And then as organically as it comes out, as you get to know the people and all that, you just kind of casually mention, you're a writer in science fiction, that you've written this, and that there could be a connection there. That's a way that you can connect with your genre, people who read your genre. And again, it's going to be a higher likelihood of people saying, oh, wow, you write science fiction too. You've already engaged in conversation before this, for maybe you've done it for a couple of weeks before you even mentioned this. And people really get to know you. And then they're more interested in say, oh, Dr. Watkins, I'd love to see about what you've posted, or Vincent, I'd love to see about what you've written. Just tell me about what you have out there. And so on Goodreads, join those genre groups that you write in. On Facebook, do the same. Facebook has so many groups. Like, I've started a group out there, but there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands probably, of groups that are out there. And a lot of groups out there are dedicated to specific genres. Join those groups and just be a part of that. Now, I know that takes time. That's one of the things I'm going to tell you guys in this live stream, is that marketing takes time. And, everyone likes it to be a push of a button, boom, there's sales that are out there, they're generated. But unfortunately, in the publishing world, that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works for authors to get big publishing deals with, Penguin, with Random House, and other things like that. Yes, they have a marketing team, but what do they do with that author? They have author signings, they have author speakings, authors actively involved in promoting their books. So even those authors just aren't sitting somewhere and doing it. Yes, once they have a name established, like a John Grisham type deal, right? When they have a name established, that maybe they can publish their book and just go to the next book and not have to do any particular marketing. But a new author that is trying to get their name out there, is trying to promote their material out there, there's going to be work involved. And so authors just have to understand that there's no single way of just being able to do it without having some legwork involved in that. So that talks about engagement, right? So we have organic engagement, talking about what other people are interested in and getting involved in the conversations, joining the groups that are genre specific on the different social media platforms that you're on. It's another key area. And then another part of it too, and I mentioned this in the very beginning of this, is your author websites, right? Like, do you guys, and you guys can mention this in the chat, Dr. Watkins and Vincent, do you guys have author websites? And if you do, that's great. That's great for start. So that way you have that on there. And so if you do have that, and please let me know. I say, yes, great. Dr. Watkins said yes. And now, Vincent, do you have a website? Great. Both of you do. Getting some work on it now. Excellent. Let me tell you something that's very effective. And you're seeing it right now is video format. More and more people are watching video formats versus the typical blurb, if you go on Amazon, most of the times you'll see the reviews in blurbs on there, and people do read those. I'm not saying that they don't, but more and more people are jumping to video format. And so one of the things I think is really effective, and this is something that I've taught about in my course, and I'll give you guys this information now, is having a video testimonial about somebody who has read your book. So if you have, say, 5 people that you can ask and say, hey, listen, I'd love to have you in a video, and you just do an interview with them and say, hey, could you talk about reading my book and what you felt when you read that book? And some of the comments, like, obviously if they like it. If they didn't care for it, then find somebody else who did think that what you wrote was worthwhile. But anyway, get them together in a group, or I say in a group, in a video, that they give a video testimonial saying, I love this, love this. And what you can do with that is the very first part of your page, your website, you can have that video testimonial there where people can click it, they can see it and see this testimonial where people say, oh, wow, this is a really interesting book. And all these people said this about this. And you can have a huge heading on there saying praise for this particular book, or it doesn't have to be that, but you could say something positive about your book with this video that people can click on and see it. And so I just think that it's really a powerful way of seeing it in quickly, right? And these videos don't have to be really long videos. You can just have a snippet of somebody talking about that for like 10 seconds and mentioning that and saying, hey, I love this book and this is why. And then have the next person and the next person, the next person doing that on there. Or you could have, better yet, you can even have multiple videos, right? Hey, this Sarah loves it for this. And the next video down, John loves it for this, or something like that. So people can see, oh, there's 10-second videos and people loved it and they can go down. I just think it's a very effective way. Obviously on your website, you're going to want to have a picture of your cover, something like that on there. And then the book description, somewhere they can easily see that information so they know what the book is about, of course. And of course, after you have that, you just need to have an action plan. Like, people like it, it's a one-click being able to buy, like takes them straight to the Amazon site where they can get it from there. Boom, it's done. Or on the website, they can make a sale on there, right? If you're trying to make a sale directly on the website. So just have that available so that way people can easily have an action on that. And I think authors sometimes mess up on this too. They have like a lot praise or promoting on that too, but then what's the action? Like, we're people kind of searching around saying, well, where do I go to buy this? Where do I do this? And people have short attention spans. If they can't find it within a few seconds, sometimes they just click away and they're off. And they're like, okay, well, on to the next thing. And so authors have to have an immediately impact, like get the message across, get that testimonial across, and immediately action, say, hey, check it out over here. And you can click on that and you can get that. So that's one of the things about the author website. Another thing too is have a second pair of eyes looking at your website too. And sometimes people ask me on this. I just don't have the time as I'm doing these groups and other things. So I don't have the time myself to look at all this stuff. But have a second pair of eyes, like an editor or somebody else that can go through the author website and just take a look and see about grammatical errors or typos or improvements. Because that's going to be as true on your author website as it is on your book, right? You want a second pair of eyes. And I say second pair, sometimes it's like 3, 4, 5 people looking at it for your author, but like your book, how does your cover look? How is the grammar for your book? Are there any typos in there? Because that will just, it'll kill you in a review if somebody reviews your book and says, oh, there are typos here and there. It's just going to leave a bad review for you guys. So you don't want that happening. So have somebody looking at the cover, have somebody looking at the grammar and any kind of typos that might be happening, and have somebody looking at the formatting. That's another thing too. Like there's different ways to read. You've got the published book, you've got the ebook. You want to make sure that you have everything checked over. So that's true of your book. That's true of your author website. And that's also true, by the way, of your Goodreads portfolio and your social media presence. Having a second pair of eyes for people saying, oh, this is you on Facebook. This is your page on Facebook. And by the way, Vincent and Dr. Watkins, do you guys have a page on Facebook? That's a good question to ask there too. And if you do have that, having a second pair of eyes where people look at that too as well. So if you guys can answer that question there too about Facebook, so I want to see what your presence is on there. Great, Vincent. Dr. Watkins, page on Facebook. If he's there, I'll give him a couple 30 seconds here to reply, and I'll get it. Good job, Vincent, on as soon as they get the website up and the personal and author pages. And by the way, Vincent, yes, but it needs work. Great. Thank you for being honest, too, Dr. Watkins. I appreciate that. I'm talking about the work. Like, do your work on it, but you also understand too that you might just be a sole author, or some authors, like they have a career outside, of course, of being an author, right? They're an engineer, they're a doctor, they're a lawyer, you name it. And so if it's not your field to be in the sort of the tech or IT sector, to understand websites, to understand, how to set up these pages and all that, there are a couple of great sites that you guys can go to. You can go to Upwork is one, Fiverr is one that I used to know about. I still think that's around, where you can cheaply hire somebody to help you put together those particular web presences. A web, obviously if you have a web page set up, and you guys do, but like Facebook, like how to make sure that you have the best author page and the best author page and a personal page, to make sure that, is there anything else that you could be doing on there? Is there people out there that specialize in that? So I can't stress that enough, just to have somebody else that you hire on, and they're very affordable. Like I've had somebody help me out with a blog one time, and I hired him out, and it was just like, I see here, Dr. Watkins, I was burned not long after TV was invented. Do you think I get the social media stuff? Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And that's what's okay though, is for social media, is that hiring people on is affordable, and you're able to do that, and they can be able to help you out with that. I was going to give this example. I hired somebody for my blog, very affordable. I think it was like something like $100 for, a week of work, and they did several weeks of work for me. So yeah, it was a few $100s. But this person was able to put something together that was absolutely beautiful. That was these blog postings that were very interactive, that had great links on there. And this person just specialized in that area. And you can have somebody that helps you out in that too, in that regard. You can set your budget on those sites, again, Upwork and Fiverr, where you can say, hey, listen, I'd like to improve my website. I'd like to improve my Facebook presence. And they can be able to say, yes, I can do this for $50 for this particular week, and be able to jump on and help you out in that regard. And so what I'm trying to say is that we are not experts in all these fields. And sometimes we just don't have time to be able to manage that. And that's where you have these people step in, they help you out, and then you have a professional presence on there that really stands out. Because the biggest key that I can give you guys is that having something that looks professional versus something that's kind of just like slapped together, big difference. Because people are going to see that, they're going to connect with that right away and say, wow, this is really great. Look at this website. This website's amazing. I mean, look at these testimonials. Look at this other video. Like another thing about your website, you can have a trailer where you have like a little book like a movie trailer, but for a book, right? And it shows the book on there. It's very well done and professionally done. It really looks cool. It stands out, and they might even share it. If it's something that's really awesome, they'll share it with their friends on that. And the next thing you know, there's a little bit of steam for your book, and some people checking that out because of this awesome trailer that you have shot for your book. And again, this trailer wasn't shot by you, unless you really know how to do trailers. It's shot by a professional that you hired on that was affordable, that you're able to get it done. Another thing about authors too, and I'm going to give a really great piece of advice here about Goodreads in just one second. But another thing that I see from authors oftentimes is that they say that they spent a certain amount of money and then it's got, and sorry, Dr. Watkins, I'm not picking on you here, but they use the word burned, right? I spent this money and I got burned on this and it's a wasted. For me, just think of it as an investment, right? Think of the money that you spent on this as an investment to yourself. That yes, you spent $1,000 and maybe you didn't get the book sales you saw right away on there, but you have a better website. You have a better trailer and other things out there that if you see it as like a long-term investment, right? Like a stock you buy, but you hold it for decades rather than just selling it right away. That if you see that as an investment in yourself, then it's never burned. It's never wasted. It's just something that you have that's a snowball effect, right? That you've got a great trailer. And then, and this next month you'll work on this aspect. You'll work on a Facebook page. And then this month you'll work on Instagram and get that all set up over there. It's a snowballing effect. So then you have all this together that's on all those different media platforms, social media, different platforms, where somebody, you've either hired on, or if you know about the field, you're putting it together one piece at a time, professionally done. And the next thing you know, it's going to make an impression over time. Like, can you see it like 6 months down the road? We have all this professionally set up and people check it out and say, wow, you did a lot of work on this. Like, I want to check this out. I want to see what this is about. So again, see it as an investment versus, 6 months into it, you spent this amount of money and gosh, I got burned on all this. That didn't make any sales. Why did I do this? Like, if you spent the time investing yourself as a writer, meaning I'm a writer myself, so I understand this. Every day you're sitting down, you're writing at the computer, and you're making this story. That's an investment that you've done in yourself, saying, I have a story to tell because I'd like to do this. And you know that it's going to be a snowballing effect, that every day you're going to add more to the book. See the same thing for marketing, that every day is that snowball effect in building something, building a book as an author, building a presence and marketing presence as an author too, over time, an investment in yourself. Like at the end of the day, authors oftentimes, at least this is how I felt, I've got it written, right? Like if you had that snowball effect with a book, after a year or 2 years, or maybe a shorter term period of time, depending on how you write, you've got it done and it's there. And nobody can ever take that away from you. And that's what's cool about that. I love that about, being an author. It's like at the end of the day, no matter what happens with this book, it's there and I did it. If you have that kind of approach, you won't use the burned approach, right? You won't say, well, I got burned writing this and I wrote all this. Like, no, it's there and it always will be there. And if it's on Amazon, if it's being sold over there, it's always going to have a presence on there in some degree. And so that way you can be proud of. And the same thing can be true about marketing, saying it's there. Like if you get the testimonial done, it's there, you got it up. And then like the trailer, it's professionally done. It's there, it's done. And you can say, wow, it really is. I spent the time. It's a great investment. I'm glad that's done. And nobody can take that away. So it's kind of a reframing of the mind. And I talk a bit about this, I used to do personal consulting for books on this. And then one of the biggest pieces I used to focus on was actually the marketing mentality. Because if authors go into it and saying, well, I'm going to spend this and I better get this, right? The bottom line. And if you go into it with that approach, it usually doesn't end well, because authors, and I had an author do this, and I won't mention any names, but I know an author personally who did this, and she spent a lot of money and she didn't get the return. And at the end, she says, I'm done with it. Like, I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I thought, how sad, how sad. Like here's an author that she was doing so good. She's spending money in this. But her mentality on this was like, well, I'm doing this for 5,000 and it's a big number, right? I mean, hopefully you're not spending that much, but it depends where you're at. But she's doing this for several thousand and she better get this at the end of the day on that. And I thought what's so sad about that is that when she didn't get it, then she just quit cold turkey and she's out. She's like, I'm not going to do anymore. And I can tell you this in the field of marketing, that it's more about the long marathon versus the short sprint. The author and one thing I learned in marketing, I've been in the marketing field for a little bit myself. I'm an accountant by trade, but I've been doing this for so long that I've also been kind of a marketing person too as well. That one of the first things I learned in marketing is that you could have a very effective campaign that just does it forever. Think of it like a bus stop, right? Like you have an advertisement on a bus stop and it shows, say it's a book, and it's there. The first week when somebody sees that, they're going to ignore it. The first month, they'll still ignore it. Maybe in the first 6 months, they're not seeing it. But then it's there. It's always there. And you see that and you're saying, what is that? Like that advertisement, it's always run, and maybe it's in several different bus stop areas, right? And you start to thinking, like, what is that thing? And the next thing you know, year one, year two, year three, before you know it, you're like, I want to check this out. This guy's been there forever. Like, I don't know what is it this guy's is promoting. You want to check it out. And it's so true of just general advertising, like a commercial, but it happens to be on TV, a radio ad, that if it does it again and again and again and again, that marathon versus a sprint, it makes an impression over time. And authors have to understand it's the same way for books that over time that it's going to strike a chord better than if you were to spend like a massive amount of money putting the book out there and trying this massive campaign, and it's for 1 week. I'm telling you, that approach is really, really tough. Like sometimes it can click, but oftentimes it doesn't. That approach, that's more that marathon approach where it's like, I'm just going to do this for a long period of time over there and really put this out there and have a presence, wherever it may be, but have this presence that's always there and always seen. People are going to check it out. And I'm telling you, that's going to be so much more effective. So much more effective. Is this making sense to everybody? Like, I hope that this is helping out Dr. Watkins, Vince, and I have another person sign on. If you can say hello too as well, it'd be great to see you. I got a poll there for that no person that joined on there too. If you can answer, some of your books are sold. Hopefully you guys are still there and I'm still connecting. I want to make sure I'm connecting still. I'll pause here for a sec. Great, Dr. Watkins. Thank you. I hope this, I spent time to try to help this. Excellent, Vincent, great. So, and there's a third person on with us too. If you want to say hello, it's great. If you wanted to sit there and chill out and watch us, that's fine too. Oh, great. Somebody did answer. Great. There's another answer on the poll over here. So again, as you go into that marketing mentality, it is that marathon, and have that in mind. It's really, really important. Hi, Lisa. Great. Hey, Lisa. And thank you for answering the poll there. So get some on Amazon. So Lisa, I guess you kind of caught this a little bit late here. That's fine. This YouTube stream will be recorded. I'm planning on doing more on Saturdays. I'd like to do it as many Saturdays as I can and being consistent as I'm talking about here in my marketing. But if I can't make a Saturday, I'll try to let people know ahead of time and to see. Yeah, Dr. Watkins. Yeah, you could do that. I'm trying to think the best way. Here, I'll do this right now. I'm going to provide an email. Dr. Watkins, we can just do right there. I don't mind it all in there. The chat, by the way, I tested this out a few times. The chat, for whatever reason, doesn't show up after the recording on there on YouTube. And maybe I just don't know where I'm clicking on that, but I tried to see if this. So just keep in mind the later recordings might not see the poll and the chat and all that on there. So we get more people to join us too. Welcome to the live stream over here. It's great to have you guys. So I just talked about, I'm not going to rehash what I talked about in the earlier videos. I'm sorry you guys couldn't join us right away, but I talked about Goodreads. I talked about having an author profile. I talked about the importance of having a website. I talked about Facebook, and most importantly, guys, and I want to reiterate this, is talked about the importance of having organic conversations with people. There's a vast difference between spamming somebody, here's my book, here is my link, go see it, versus somebody who has an organic conversation with a person or a group of people, and then over time casually mentions that they're an author in that genre, that you're obviously going to join groups that are niche specific or Facebook areas niche specific, and be able to casually mention that, hey, you're an author in that niche, and that they should check out your book over here. But that's after you've made a connection, not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. Here's my book. Here's my link. Because I tell you, if you do it that way, it's going to be another spam. And a lot of groups, by the way, will kick you off. Like I'm one of the few groups on Facebook and on Goodreads that allows authors to go ahead and promote their book on there. But I think that there's some effective way, of having your presence on there. I think that's good. But I think that, a lot of groups aren't like mine. They'll see that a spam and they'll boot you off and they'll say, "Are you just sharing your link in your book? We don't even know who you are." So just make sure that you have that organic connections. And I talked about that in the beginning. And one of the things, if you just sign on here too, that I just talked about is having a professional website, professional trailers done for your book, professional testimonials that are done, a professional presence on Facebook and other social media sites. If you don't know how to do that stuff, there are a lot of people on Fiverr and Upwork that you can hire on that can be able to help you out too. So I just want to kind of rehash what I just talked about here so you guys understand. The Facebook group. So it's the Goodreads authors / readers on Facebook. So Vincent, if you just, let me see if I can provide a link directly on here. Let's see if I can do that here. Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see if I can do this here for us. I do have it up here now. It'd be pretty cool if I could do this. Let's see, give me 1 second. Let me jump it back on. Okay, I have it here. 1 second. There we go. Hey, look how cool that is. Live stream, able to provide the link. That's the group. And actually, cool. Well, I'm glad we have this here. Is everybody a part of my author marketing group too? That's important. And by the way, if you're not a subscriber on my channel, my Author Lifeline channel, please subscribe to that too. That's helpful. 1 second, guys. Let me go to, just give me a second. I'm gonna pull up a link for the Goodreads group. I can sign on. Okay, give me 1 second. I want to make sure you guys are aware of this. There's a really good piece on this group that I'm going to give you guys. It's a topic that I've worked really hard on. Shoot. And so I had to log in. So give me 1 second, guys. 1, 4, 7, 8. Okay. Provide this link. Allow. Yes. So I'm going to give this link for this Goodreads group that I want you guys to be a part of. And I'm going to tell you about a specific thread on here that I think is really cool. And I've worked hard on this too with it's not just me, it's actually other authors who have contributed to this. It's super valuable, super valuable. Okay, so here it is. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to copy this link. Okay, let's do this again. Live stream. Thank you guys for staying with me. Appreciate it. Trying to get all this in. Okay, here's another link, guys. Paste. Okay, it's the marketing. There you go. Make sure that you join that. I have some requests on there. If you're waiting, I'll let you in the group. It's a private group that I have on Goodreads that's specifically for marketing. Now, the topic I want you guys to see, and tell me if you see this right now, if you can see it at your computers, you can see it as a different window. I mean, I don't want to take away from the live stream on here, but I do want you to check this out. There's a topic on there that's called Test and Result, Authors Helping Authors. That place is hugely valuable because what it is it's an area where I talk about what authors have done, what types of programs they've done, the cost, free books distributed, books actually sold, book reviews or ratings and genre. So it's basically authors who have tested certain areas out. Now, I want to keep this in mind as I mention that, is that you might see some authors on there that say that very thing I mentioned in this video, saying, oh, they got burned, like they spent this. Keep in mind, the strategy is that marathon versus that sprint. So you have to read these posts with that in mind. Did this author kind of just blast themselves out there, or did they kind of do this for a long period of time to understand what's going on there too? But what I like about that thread is it tells you the different programs that authors have done. Like for instance, Amazon has the KDP Select, right? KDP Select programs where you can give away your books for free and also do like a discount. And you can be able to do timeframes on that and tell people about that. I've done that, and I'll just give this an example. On one, I'm an author myself. If you guys have just joined on there, so I have several books. But on one of the promotions that I did it on Black Friday, and boy, did that make an impact. I had all these sales that came through. Now they were free books distributed on there, but there are people that were seeing that, and they were later on doing like KDP read pages. They wanted to read more on there. It's a very effective way of being able to put your stuff out there, especially on a day that people are online. But how did I know about that? Like, like as an author, maybe I should have known that a Black Friday would be a great deal for people to be online and checking that out. But I kind of was thinking more as a shopping standpoint, like, oh, Walmart and Target, it's a great day to go get products as a discount. I wasn't stepping in the author mode saying, hey, that might be a great day to do free books. And it was like, I saw such a huge result from that. So it's things like that on that thread, on that Goodreads group where you guys will see that will help you guys out. And so there's a lot of different postings on there, a lot of different programs that are on, it could be on Amazon, it could be on Goodreads. They talk about the Goodreads giveaway programs where you can offer some free books on Goodreads too, to help promote your work out there. So that's another place out there. B.A. Oliver asked this question. Good morning, Vincent. Did you mention the importance of WordPress and promoting your books there with blogs? Yeah, I did mention blogs in the very beginning, that I actually had a blog myself that's up on there. WordPress is another great area for marketing, to put it out there. Blogs are a way of people connecting with you. More importantly, though, is what I was saying with all social media, whether it be a blog that you have or a page that you have, is being able to make sure that your presence is just there and known, and being able to see people to see you over time versus just checking you out, like having a huge marketing budget, spending it within a week and then disappearing. So if you do a blog, that's great, but you've got to maintain that blog over time. And WordPress is a great way of being able to push your work out there. So that's a good point, Oliver. Thank you for mentioning that. Let's see if there's another question here if I missed. So become a member of that, guys, again, that Facebook. Okay, Lisa says, I can't stay, but I've joined on Goodreads, so I'll see you there. Okay, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for joining on over there, and hope it helps you out. And we're at 50 minutes here, guys, so I'm going to do another 10 minutes, and we'll wrap it up here. So let's talk about Facebook in terms of, we talked about the author pages that you do, and make sure it's there, and also about the groups. So again, make sure on Facebook that you join the niche related groups that are associated with whatever niche you write in, and that you become a part of that conversation on there. Now, another thing about Facebook is the advertising on there, right? When you do advertisements, you're going to want to have advertisements that talk about your book, send them perhaps even to your website, if you want, and you're going to send them to your website after you've already established that you have this trailer that's great, and you have these testimonials that are great. You want to send people off to that website on Facebook after that's done. You don't want to do it beforehand. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to send it over there and it's not really put together. Like Dr. Watkins said that he still needs to work on his author page on Facebook. Well, make sure the work is done before you do any kind of money advertising, that you start sending them to those areas, right? Whether it be a Facebook page or whether it be a website that you send them to. So that way they see it and it's all put together for you. So do that work ahead of time before you start doing that. Now, the question is, where can it be most effective doing advertisements, money advertisements like Facebook, Amazon? I think that both serve their own individual purposes. Facebook can draw people over. Facebook's pretty good because you can kind of go through and kind of cherry pick the audience. You can say, hey, people that are interested in reading, people that have this sort of demographic. So you can kind of go through and do a better advertisement that's pulling people over. Amazon can be pretty effective too with keywords. One thing to revisit on your book is to make sure that your keywords not only relate to your genre, but also relate to something that's very specific in your book, right? Because you got to think about keywords on Amazon, that if you have something that just says fiction, right? Well, how many books are fiction on Amazon? A ton of books that are listed as fiction as the keyword. So that's not going to be very effective for you. Keywords are very narrowly focused, are going to be much better at being able to pinpoint it to your book. For instance, if you write a poetry book, just putting this out as a hypothetical, a poetry book that's based on getting over the death of a loved one, or yeah, we'll stick with that. Somebody who passed away. It's about recovering from that. You have keywords that you can say that you can have, say, like bereavement poetry or something else creative, right? That pinpoints them in a better way. That's more narrowly focused, not this huge genre like fiction, but more narrowly focused toward what your book is about, where people are more likely to see your book, have it pop up, and have be able to locate it. I'll give you a great example of that. I noticed that when I was doing these free sales, free giveaways on Amazon on Black Friday, that I was popping up on certain lists. And it was funny because it was lists I'd never seen before. It was like, I'm trying to think of one of my books on there. It was like short story romance, right? Because I had a book that's right there that's kind of romance related. But I never thought about like being a kind of like a short story kind of deal. I thought more of a collection, but it popped up on this list. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that there was a list like that out there. And so it's very useful as an author of making sure that on Amazon, where your book is listed on Amazon, when you are able to select keywords, and you can go back and change keywords too, by the way, on Amazon. It's not fixed, but you can change your keywords so that they were narrowly focused toward what your book is about versus having it some huge genre, like, again, fiction, nonfiction, or maybe even something like romance, right? I mean, romance, that's huge. That's a huge field. There's a lot of books out there. Make it narrowly tailored. So, and I mentioned doing that on Amazon, but do it on Goodreads. Do it on other social media platforms where you just have more narrowly focused keywords, so that way people can see you. You know, and it goes back to that common phrase, right? Is it better to be a small little fish, right, in a huge sea? It's not even a pond; it's a sea of books. Or is it better to be a pretty big fish that's in this very narrowly tailored pond? And so that's the best way of being able to find you and see you, is having those keywords that stick, that are very narrowly tailored. So I hope that helps you out in that regard too. I got a question here I want to read. Oliver, do you have tips on marketing 10-year-old books? I do have something. Yeah, I have 5 more minutes here, guys, because I want to keep it under hours. I know you guys might have other things planned too. Yes, and I want to talk about something that can be very effective. If your book can be a series, and really kind of stretch that, right? I know some people automatically say, no, I can't be a series, it's a one-off. I get that. Some books are like that. But if you think that it can be, it's a great way to reintroduce a book that's older, or even having a sequel. It's a great way to gather traction and momentum on an older book, because if you have a sequel or a series books, what happens with readers is that they'll see that new book and they'll say, oh, I didn't read the original. I need to go back and check that out. And if you have book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, they're going to say, wow, look at all these books on this. They might have checked out the blurb on book 4 and saying, wow, well, maybe they even read it, right? So this is a great book, but I want to read all these other books that came before that. It's a great way to reestablish traction in an older book. So if you have a 10-year-old book and say it's a one-off book, really think about how you can maybe do a sequel on that can spark more traction on that first one on there. So you can have that on there. So that's one piece of advice on there that I can give you. And I'll get back to that one-off book in a second, but I want to speak to something on the series books. This has actually been tested and proven. I actually, I've done a lot of marketing research and things on books and things like that. I know a writer who was out there, and his name skipped my mind because it was a couple years ago when I saw this guy. But he actually was very successful in doing series books and having a readership, right? When he published book 1, there's a certain number of readers, and they were kind of small, like, a handful of readers that had read it. But then he did book 2 and book 3 and book 4. And what he was is very consistent about doing it and dedicated, and he did it quickly. So by the time this author had like book 10 in this series, he had all this huge following of people wanting to read this book and going into this and saying, wow, what is this series about? I want to check this out. It was a very effective way of people being able to not only see the new book, but read all of these prior books in there too. So it was kind of that snowball that I mentioned before. it was this building snowball for the series that he had. And so it just had more and more readers as he went deeper and deeper in that. And the key about it is that it was well done, first of all, well written. So I'm taking that as a given, guys. It's a well written book, well advertised book, but and well branded book, I should say, too. But he was also very consistent about doing it here on these specific time frames, so that way that book could really be seen and stand out, and that people can get that next the next book when they wanted to, and not making them wait for many years, right? So it says BA here. Thank you, Vincent. BA stands for Beverly, by the way. I'm the author of Sojourn to Honduras, Sojourn to Healing. Oh, great. Well, congratulations on your book there, Beverly. Thank you for joining in on this. So, and serialization. So yeah, that's somebody that's joined to talk about serialization. I just talked about it. I don't know if you saw that a series books are great when you're just doing them one after the other. You're consistent about that and keep putting that out there and keep connecting with your audience out there, because you're going to have more and more readers as you go deeper into that series. If it's well written and it's engaging to your audience, more people are going to see that, especially, as I said, deeper you go in the series, people will see that and they'll want to go check that out. Oh, chapters. Okay. Let's see here. Do you have any opinion on, I'm not sure I understand the question, Rosalind, about chapters and serializations. I see your chat there. Could you kind of clarify what you mean? That's the 10-year-old book about, okay, great. So let me, before I get to Rosalind's question on there, Rosalind, you could just clarify what you mean there. I'll try to help you out. Say there's a book out there that's just old. It's a one-off book, 10 years old, and you're trying to promote this and it's kind of lost steam. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before about being the marathon deal. Like, if you think that your marketing has stopped for 10 years, right, on that particular book, if you want to try to re-engage an audience on that, there are two ways that I think can be effective about that. One is by doing a new edition on it. Like, maybe you do an introduction on the book, right? And you just talk about whatever, XYZ. And you're able to put that book back out in the marketplace. So it's not like, yes, it's 10 years old, but you did a new edition on this that has this introduction that becomes fresher. So that's a way that you can take a 10-year-old book and make it brand new by having this introduction on there, because it's a new edition, same material in general that's in this book, but has pieces of it that are a little bit newer so that people can get more out of the book. And then what's key about this is you don't let the next 10 years pass where it's like you did a little marketing here, but then you quit for 8 years and then you're trying to pick it back up again, going back to it again, you know? So good. New cover for all book too. Yeah, there you go. That's a great thing I'm trying to mention here. So if you have a new book on that cover, new introduction or something like that, it's a way to reintroduce the book, and having marketing being that marathon, that continued presence over time versus that one and done. And that's a way to reintroduce that book and have that out there. So I hope that helps you out. You know, it's a way of taking an older book, doing a new cover, doing a new introduction, whatever it may be, and putting it back out there again. I'm trying to read about this chapters thing over here. There's a movement afoot to do the same thing Dickens did long ago, serializing books by chapter online. Okay, yeah, this speaks to that. Yeah, I do agree with that. And Rosalind, let me try to explain on this one with serializations. I have done this with my book. Sure thing. I have done this with my book. I have a science fiction series out there, and that book was just one. And what I did is I broke that book out, because when I first published this, it was print books at the time, primarily. Ebooks was kind of just starting off. Many people didn't have the devices. And what I decided to do not long ago is I decided to break it out into parts. And so it wasn't chapter by chapter, but it was like several chapters piled together. I think it can be a very effective way of engaging your audience and being able to have kind of like a serialization of a book, but it's really kind of just broken the book up and being able to reach them out there. So I suggest this for pretty much for every author who's here. If you have a book and you have an ebook, consider doing that. Consider breaking it up into parts. And if you want to try chapter by chapter, I can't speak to that. Could be very effective. Like people could read a chapter and they say, "Oh, cool, I'll see this next week or next month. I'll get into that." I don't know if they'll have that opinion or if they'll have the opinion saying, "Ah, it's so small," and like it's if you're selling it, right, you're selling it for 99 cents. There's got to be value baked in there too. They'll say, "Well, there's a chapter," but if it's like James Patterson type of deal where it's like a one-page deal, they might be seeing like, "Well, I'm paying 99 cents for a page. Like, am I getting a lot out of this?" So I think there's a balancing effect going on where they say, "I will pay for this, but it's got to be some volume where they're getting something out of it, so that way they feel like the money spent was well spent, and then they're going to get the next section of the book, whether it be a chapter, a long chapter, or a part to that book where they see more of it." So you have to balance that, balance what people are spending and the time they're spending on versus what you're actually giving them, so that's just part of that. But I think they can be very, very effective. I've seen that with my own book by doing it by parts. People have gotten part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. It's a very effective way of doing that kind of serialization, if that makes sense. So it's also a great way if you take an older book and you break it up, that you can do something new with that too as well. Great, excellent. We're at an hour here. Sorry, a little bit past that. I hope that some of these tips have helped you out. I'm trying to sort of throw in the kitchen sink a little bit. That there's so much more to cover, but I want to keep this engaging and helpful. Trying to help you guys out. I'll take a couple last questions from you guys. Um, Hopefully you've been able to check this out. Thank you. I'm gonna go by name here, Dr. Watkins. Thank you so much, Vincent. Thank you so much, Rosalind, Beverly. Thank you for joining on over here. I'm gonna try to do something more consistent. I might have videos too where I'm talking about. By the way, on Goodreads, I've got a Goodreads author/readers group that's about 50,000 people. I've got a marketing group that is about 700 people on there. I've got a Facebook group that's about 15,000 people on there. So I might, I'm really considering doing this on Saturdays, having this live stream that's both for authors and for the readers. So people are kind of collaborating together on there and doing it more consistently so people know about these over here. So we have some people joining on. Came in late, but appreciate the tips and links. Thank you, Ruth. Yeah, sure. To groups on Goodreads and Facebook. Oh, sure thing, Ruth. I hope this helped you out. Thank you, Vincent. And any final questions? I'll stay in a little later over here. Thank you for answering the poll. We had, by the way, for the poll, we had 67% Amazon. We had Facebook at 17%, author websites at 17% for goods. See you on Goodreads. Beverly said maybe around 10 a.m. I'll have to see if I can change the time up. I'll see. I'm on Pacific time, so I'll see, let's see if that can work out. And great, guys. I will, let's wrap it up over here. Hope these tips have helped you guys out. And just check out the video again. I will post more. By the way, become a member, a subscriber on this channel. Also become a part of the Facebook groups and the Facebook group that I have, the Goodreads groups that I have. And there are many different tips on there, different strategies on there, and just keep checking that out and keep putting yourself out there. Again, it's about the marathon and not the sprint, and being able to do professional books, professional marketing, and having that put together in a nice package. It's a snowballing effect that it's an investment in yourself. Don't think of it getting burned on certain money that you've done. You're investing in yourself, and that's the best way to think about the marketing mentality. Just like the author mentality, you're investing yourself as an author, invest yourself as somebody who's marketing your book too. Excellent. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to sign off over here, and I'm going to say thank you so much. And we're off. Sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.